welcome you all for this session. I will be discussing influence line of trusses. In the previous classes, we have discussed what is influence line and how it is applied for concrete structures, in specific for beam. We have discussed and some problems is being solved for the influence line. Right now, we will be looking into truss structures. So, majorly the influence lines are used for bridges, that is for moving loads, and majority of the bridges are being constructed by trusses. This has a close connection of influence line. When looking into the truss, these are majoritively constructed in steel members, and there are different types of trusses which we will look into that. The trusses are used for roofs, for industrial structures, and they are used to construct bridges. And according to the span of the bridge, the trusses are different types. So if this truss span is small, you can use king post truss, queen post truss, the things which are used for roof coverings for a residential houses. And if the case the span is long, say for example if you are constructing bridge, then the following type of truss is used. They are Pratt truss. This is constructed when you have a span of 10 to 80 meter distance. So all the types are certain pattern of trusses. Each and every one is unique according to the design and shape. These truss carry the loads, and if you have 10 to 60 meter trusses, you can use Howe truss, and Warren truss can be used for 16 to 130 meter. Here you can see, if you compare with Howe Pratt truss, the Warren truss can be used up to 130 meter distance. So twice of the distance you can use, and Warren truss with verticals. So there is no verticals available here. You can increase the verticals in order to increase the stability and the span. Okay. Next type is Parker type. So this is an arch type. So if you are going for this design, then you can use Parker truss. And K type of truss is used up to 240 meter distance, span distance. The double of Warren truss. Howe truss, and the next greater distance you can use is Warren truss, and K truss can be used for the double the times of the Warren truss. And this is another type of Howe truss where you have the top chord in an angle. Okay. In practical cases, you can see the different types of trusses. This is a Warren truss with verticals. You can see the vertical elements here, and this is bottom chord and this is the top chord. So these are the technical details that I will discuss with you. You can just observe the shapes. Here the top chord is plain, that is horizontal. Here you can see a arch type truss here. So for elegant purpose it is used. And next, this is a K truss. You can see the shape of K here. So these type of trusses are used for larger spans. And you can see here that the trusses are load carrying members where the load is only applied in the joint. So wherever you see the joint, at the place of the joint these loads are applied, and only at those places. Then what happens, the members, if you apply a load at a joint, the load is transferred into each and every member. It will be purely axial force. So it may be either compression or tension. So this is compressive force and this is tensile force. And these are the two types of force which is acting in a truss. So during construction, to achieve this concept, we need several members. So you are making these elements, so there are components in order to make sure that the load only acts at the joint. So let us see that what are the basic assumption of a truss while analyzing. Okay, the members are connected at their ends by smooth frictionless pin joints. You can see these are the ends. This is one end and this is the other end. So for each and every truss you will be having the ends of supports and ends of joints. At each and every joint, this joint is being connected by pinned joint. So it may be a bolt or it may be rivet. Okay, this is the first assumption, and next thing is the load and reaction are applied to the truss at joints only. If you are applying some load, if any transportation is moving in this truss, the load from the car or the vehicle should only transfer in this joint. So in no other point this load can transfer. So this is the second assumption. And the centroidal axis of each member is straight and coincides with the line connecting the joint center at the end of the member. So if you take a single member, there should be a straight line from top to the end. So that the centroid of each member will be same throughout the member. So this is another assumption. If your member is slightly bent, then what happens? It creates the bending stress and progressively it induces torsion and shear. So that is why these members are assumed as a straight member. Okay, all the member function has two force members. They are subjected to either tension or compression. So these are the assumptions. So if you assume this and proceed to analyze what happens while constructing, you should adhere this assumption. If you adhere this, then your analysis answer will match the construction and there will be no consequences after the construction. These are all another example of trusses, that is pink type of truss and bowstring bridges. So you can see bowstring bridges and these are the patterns of the bowstring bridge. And this is what I explained. The centroidal line should be straight between two ends of the element, and this is known as, so you can only see the elements and how to connect this element. So you have a separate connection member known as gusset plate. So how this joints are being formed is, you can see a plate here. So this is a separate member. This member is called gusset plate, and in this plate all the members are being connected and these lines coincide with the centroid of this joint, and all the elements are connected in this gusset plate by the rivet or bolt, and this is a end gusset plate. At the support reaction you can see this shape of gusset plate. Okay, now let us understand the load transferring mechanism. If you are constructing the roof for an industrial building, you can see the load is transferred from the roof to the bottom of the structure. It is transferred first to the roof covering. So the load which is coming to the structure will be first transferred to the roof covering. So this is the roof covering here, and after that you have purlins. The roof coverings will be here, and you have purlins at nearly 1 meter interval, and you can see the purlin practically here. These are the members known as purlins, and after the sheet you will be having this member called purlin, and this is the C type purlin, and these two purlins are being connected in the cleat, and this is also a member. So the load coming from the sheets are being transferred to the purlin, and the purlin load is being transferred to the cleat, and the cleat transferred the load to the rafter in the sense. So this is known as the rafter, and the rafters transfers the load to each and every member, and it transfers to the column support, and this is the flow of the load. Joint truss, here it is written as joint truss, and this is known as the joint truss member at each and every rafter, or this is known as the rafter. So this element, you can see, this is the rafter, and at the place of the rafter the load is transferred. Okay, so now you have identified the process of load transferring mechanism, and there are components in a bridge structure, and while constructing a bridge you have bottom chord. So these elements are called bottom chord, and this is top chord. These are the members. This is a horizontal member, is known as top chord, and the bracing which is used to carry the lateral force. The lateral force may be from top or in the lateral side, so that the top chord bracing is being provided and bottom chord bracing is provided. And if a load is perpendicular to the structure, then lateral bracing is also provided. You can see this lateral bracings. These are all called the diagonal member, which gives stability to the structure. Okay, these are all the components in detail. While a load is moving, when a car is moving here, what happens? The car load is being transferred to the deck. So this is the road. Road is either known as the deck. So after the deck, the load is transferred to stringers. So these are all called stringer beams. You can see at a particular spacing, these beams run throughout the span. So the load from the deck is being transferred to the stringers, and from the stringers the floor beam is placed, and these loads are transferred to the floor beam. And you can see after a floor beam, the floor beams are connected with the vertical members of the truss. So what happens? The load from the deck transfers to the stringer, and it transfers to the floor beam. And while connecting this stringers, while connecting this floor beam to the truss member, what happens? The load act axially at this member. Hence, this is the way to achieve the assumption. So, this is what the first assumption. All the loads are acting at the joint only. So that we are placing this mode of transfer mechanism in construction, and this is known as lower chord, and this is known as upper chord. Either in some cases certain bridge takes the load from the upper chord, certain bridges take the load in the lower chord, and these are the diagonals. Another member is known as sway strut. So this allows the member to be stable during the horizontal load. So this reduces the sway, that is lateral deflection. So this is known as sway strut, and the members inside this sway strut is sway bracing. In order to give stability for this sway strut, the sway bracing is being provided. And this is upper lateral bracing. You can see the cross bracing at the upper chord. Here also you can see the same member which is in upper chord. And this is an end post, and majorly all the elements are being discussed here. Practically you can see the structure like this. Each space between the vertical member and the end post is one panel. This bridge has 6 panels. And there are 3 types of bracing. One is portal bracing, sway bracing and lateral bracing. You can see this is a portal, this is the end portal, and you will be having bracings here. This is indicated here. This is the portal bracing, and you can see at the end you have this portal bracing and sway bracing. So in between two trusses you will be having sway bracing, and for that you will be having that cross mark of lateral bracing. So this is the lateral bracing. The component of all truss elements is being discussed here, and now comes the influence line of trusses. Okay, for analyzing the truss by using influence line, these are the steps for drawing influence line for a truss. First, we have to express the reaction as a function of position of the unit load. Here we have to find the reactions, that is upward force, and we have to find that reaction. We can use the function, that is L minus X divided by L and X by L. So these are the two functions which we have already derived. So we will be using this function for identifying the reaction. First you have to find the reactions, and second, when the load is left on the panel containing the truss, consider the right portion of the section. So you have to place load at one portion. Say for example, if you are placing load at one portion, this is the right portion. If I am taking the point here, if you are placing load at this, you can take the other side, that is left hand side of the considered point. When the load is on right hand side of the panel, consider the left part. So you have to consider the opposite part of where you are placing the load. Okay, the influence line when the unit load is inside the panel is obtained by joining by means of straight lines the influence line ordinates at the two end panel points. So if you are placing the load at one side and identifying the section, after getting this two value, if you combine this, you will be getting the influence line of the members. That is what is indicated here by joining the means of straight line. So after getting these values, you can plot that and join the points by using straight line. This is called influence line ordinates at the end panel points. While doing the influence analysis, first thing is the portion of truss to the left of the panel where the member is situated, and next thing is portion of truss to the right of the panel point and portion inside the panel point. So you have to take a panel one side and find the member at the other side. Okay, let us understand by using this example. So let us solve a truss by using this influence line concept. Draw the influence line diagram for member 4, 5 and 6 of truss shown. Assume that the load moves along the bottom chord. So already we know the components. This is the top chord and this is the bottom chord. Here the load is moving along the bottom chord. Okay, they have given a point. Next thing is draw the influence line diagram for the members 4, 5 and 6. So these are the member 4, 5 and 6. We have to find the forces. Okay, the load is also given here. So this is our panel. If the load is placed at right hand side, you have to consider the left hand section. So this is what the panel, and you can consider the left and right hand side of this panel to identify the element forces. Now let us do this. While solving this problem, we can split into 3 regions. This is region 1 and 7 to 6 is region 2 and 6 to 5 is region 3. So these are all the number of joints 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 number of joints here. It is being indicated and each region consists of 10 meter distance and the vertical distance is 3.5 meter. Okay, first we have to find the reactions. So this is what the process, the same process we will proceed. First thing is express the reaction as the function of the position of unit load. Okay, so we already know the function, that is L minus X divided by L. What do you mean by L? L is the length of the member. The whole member consists of 30 meter. This is our point of interest. Okay, so that is considered as X. So L is 30 minus X divided by 30. And how to find the reaction 5, that is R5 X by L is the formula. So you can check my previous video for identifying the influence of simply supported beam. There you can find the formula. You can keep that for reference. Now first we have find the reaction. R1 reaction equal to 30 minus X divided by 30 and R5 is X by 30. Here they have given the load. If we are placing the load here, what are the forces which is acting in the element? Now you can question that. Right now we have assumed that while analyzing a truss, the load is only acting at the joint. Sir, here you can ask that why the load is not acting at a joint. Why? Because the load is not taken by the truss. It has several members. I have shown that when the car is moving at this point, what happens? This car will be placed on the deck, that is on the road. So below the road you will be having the stringers and below that you will be having beam. So this stringer beam, the floor beam, you can see the floor beam here. It is being hidden. So while analyzing a truss, these components are not being shown here. Only you will be having the load and the trusses. You have to understand this concept while analyzing. So these members are not going to take any bending stress. The loads will be axial. You have to find either it is a compression member or tension member or what is the load when this vehicle is moving at the x distance. Okay. After finding the reaction, what we have to do is step number 2. The structure is divided into 3 regions as shown. This is left hand portion and this is right hand portion of the plane. So this is what the plane we are considering, and the structure is divided into 3 regions. Okay. The unit load at region 1. Now if you want to mark this element forces, assume that at the joint 2 all the forces are tension, and for joint 3 all the member force are tension, and at joint 7 member force are assumed at tension, and at also member 6 it is assumed as tension. The thing is, while performing this analysis you should assume that all the member force are tension. So this is what the initial assumption. First we will be considering the load at left hand side, that is region 1. If the load is coming at region 1, you have to consider only the section at right hand side. So this was the assumption which I have discussed earlier. So let us resolve this. With the unit load at region 1, forces are found considering at right hand portion. So the load is at the region 1, that is at left hand side. You have to consider the portion of right hand side if this is the plane. Okay. Now taking the forces and taking the moments equal to 0, if I am considering the 0.7, there will be, if I am looking into right hand side, I will be having R5 into distance is 20. So this is anti-clockwise, hence minus R5 into 20. Okay. The other force is, you can see a horizontal force here, which is F4. F4 into the distance is 3.5. This is also anti-clockwise and considering the joint. Hence it is taken as negative F4 into 3.5. The remaining members are along the joint. So in this joint you can see 1, 2, 3. There are 4 members. All the 4 members are connected to this joint so that you cannot take moment. The rest of the member, which is F4, only can be considered. And if you look at the right hand side, R5 is there. Remaining we cannot consider. Okay. When resolving this, if you want F4, you can take this outside R5. You know R5 is x by L. So we have found the R5. R5 is x by L and R1 is 30 minus x by L. Now you can substitute x by L here. So x you already know that we will substitute in the coordinates. If this load is at the portion of 0, so this is the origin point, that is 0, 0, substitute x equal to 0. If this is 0, everything will be 0 here, F4 will be 0, and at the initial point the influence line is 0. At the 7 meter point at the joint 7, substitute x equal to 10. If you substitute 10 here, so you will be getting minus 1.9 of influence line unit. So if a load is moving at the point 7, this member 4 carries a compressive load, that is compression pattern of load. You can multiply with the load to get the exact magnitude. If this load is at 0 point, you don't have any influence line for the member 4, and if the load crosses 7th point, 7th joint, you will be having a negative of influence line at the member. Okay. Now let us go to the point 3. That is joint 3. At the joint 3, if I am considering the right hand side, why? Because the load is at left hand side. If I am considering the right hand side, R5 into distance. Now since it is a right angle triangle, you will be having equal amount of distance. If this is 10, the right hand side will be 5 and left hand side will be 5. So you can check with that by using the formula. That so then you are having another force, which is the member 6. The member 6 element is here, that is F6 into 3.5. This is clockwise. Hence you will be having F6 into 3.5, which is clockwise, and R5 into 15. You are having 10 meter here and 5 meter at the center. So if you resolve this, you will be getting F6. So F6 will be, R5 will be x by L, and you will be getting this equation x by 7. After simplifying, you will be getting this equation. Okay. If you want to substitute the limits, x by 70, if you substitute 0, what happens? 0 by 7 will be 0, and if you substitute 10, you will be getting 10 by 7, that is 1.49 as tension. So this is the F6 influence line due to the load. Then you have found out the member 4 influence line and member 6 influence line. What you have to do is F5, that is member 5. Let us find the influence line for this member. If we are at joint 3, let us resolve all the forces acting at joint 3 equal to vertical force will be equal to 0. So what are the vertical forces here? So at joint 3, you can see, if you are looking at this joint and this member, you can see F5 member is inclined, and if you want to resolve it vertically, you have to use sin theta, F5 sin theta, so that I may be able to resolve this. Okay, and this will be negative, which is acting downward, and if you are looking into right hand side of this panel, you have R5 here. So R5 is upward, hence it is positive. So R5 will be in one side minus F5 sin theta. So the sin theta is gone to left hand side, hence you will be getting this equation. If you want to find F5, you can bring the sin theta at right hand side of this equation, and the sin theta will be opposite side by hypotenuse. So how to find opposite side? If you are considering this as a inverted right angle triangle, you will be having the theta here. So the opposite side will be 3.5 meter. This is the side of the height of the triangle, and this is hypotenuse. How to find hypotenuse? Root of adjacent side by opposite side. So this is 5 meter and this is 3.5 meter. If you square root this, you will be getting the answer. So that is why the answer is written here. Since it is in denominator, you should inverse this. After inversing that, x by 30, R5 is x by 30, and sin theta, if you inverse this, it will become root of 3.5 square plus 5 square divided by 3.5, and if you find the answer, you will be getting 0.058x. So this will be F5. While substituting x equal to 0, you will be getting F5 equal to 0, and x equal to 10, you will be getting F5 equal to 0.58 unit. Now we have found out the three elements forces when the object is crossing at left hand side. When the object crosses the plane and it goes to right hand side of the section, what happens? The scenario changes. So let us keep the load at region 3 at the next step. In the step 5, when the unit load is in the region 3 and considering the left hand portion of the section and taking the moment about 0.7. So while considering at joint F7, R1 into 10. So this will be clockwise, and R1 into 10 will be clockwise, and it is plus. And if we are considering the member 4 and it is acting at clockwise, which at a distance of 3.5. So 3.5 into F5, and 3.5 into F5, this is also acting clockwise with respect to joint 7, and we will be getting this equation. You know R1 equal to 30 minus x divided by 30, which we have found out earlier, and further if you simplify, you will be getting 30 minus x divided by 10.5. Okay, next let us take the point 3, and at the point 3 and at the joint 3, when you are looking into the left hand side portion, you will be having R1 into distance of 15, which will be clockwise. R1 into 15 will be clockwise, and F6 into distance is 3.5, this will be anti-clockwise, and F6 into 3.5 will be anti-clockwise, hence it is minus. So if you want F6, you can take everything to the opposite side, or you can take F6 into opposite side. Then for R1, 30 minus x divided by 30 into 15 equal to plus 30 minus x divided by 7. You will be getting this equation. Then for member 5, you want to resolve it vertically. To resolve it vertically, we already discussed. If you are at point 3, this member, the opposite side of the member is at joint 7. If you resolve this element, so this is the left hand side element of point 3. If you resolve it vertically, f5 sin theta, which is upward, and you have a vertical support reaction, that is R1. So both are positive. So if you want f5 equal to, you can take it outside, minus R1 divided by sin theta. For finding sin theta, you know opposite side by hypotenuse, so the opposite side will be, if you are taking this as angle, opposite side is 3.5. If you simplify this, you will be getting the answer of minus 30 minus x into 0.058. All the three equations, you have to substitute the limit. So how to substitute the limit? If the load is at 20 meter and if the load is at 30 meter. So these are the limits. So for finding F4, you can substitute 30 minus x, that is, if you substitute 20, so 30 minus 20 will be minus 10 divided by 10.5 equal to minus 0.95, that is in terms of compression. Okay, if you substitute 30, what will happen? 30 minus 30 will become 0. So F4 will be 0 here. And for F5 and for F6, you have to use 30 minus 7 by 7. So 30 minus x, if you substitute x equal to 20, 10 by 7, and you will be getting 1.43, that is plus. For all positive forces, you can assume tension, and for all negative forces, you can assume compression. Okay. For finding F5, substitute 20 here, and you will be getting minus 0.58 compression, and plus, if you substitute 30 here, x equal to 30, you will be getting 0. Now you know all the values. This is the step 5. You can apply the values here. Influence line for member 4. For the fourth member, the influence line is, if the load is at left hand side and if the load is at right hand side. When it is at left hand side, F4 was, so the F4 is compression of 1.90, and when the load is at right hand side, F4 is minus 0.95 compression, and you have to plot that. Both are negative, so you can plot at bottom and connect all the points, that is 0, 1.9, 0.95 and 5. So at the point of x equal to 0 and x equal to 30, the influence line is 0. And for the member 5, when the load is at left hand side, we got 0.58, and when the load is at right hand side, we got minus 0.58. So you can connect by using the line. So the influence line will be in this pattern. While the load is moving, the member 5 was initially at tension while the load is at this point, and when it crosses the region 3, this became a compressive member. And what about the member 6? So the member 6, throughout the passage of this vehicle, this member was under tension. So you can see this was purely under tension, and the value we identified at F6. And by this you can see the member 6 is always under tension wherever might be the load, and the member 4 was always at compression throughout the section, and member 5 at region 1, this was positive. When the load crosses the joint 6 to 5, the member tends to compress. So this is the pattern of the load. So a single member can have compression and tension of forces. You have to consider the maximum number of force and design this section. After analyzing, you will be taking this section to design part. So you have to carefully consider where are the compressive force and which portion you are having tensile force and due to what load. So after getting this analysis, you can design your structure. And the member, highest member, you can see the highest influence line was 1.90. So this member, that is F4. So the F4 member, so the size has to be increased or the material strength has to be increased when comparing to the other members. And also the member 5 had least number of force, that is 0.58. When comparing these three values, the member 5 has least number of influence line. Hence, this member can be reduced of cross section. That is why if you check the first or second slide, the diagonal members were slightly less in thickness. Why? Because the stress acting here is lesser. So this is the aspects of getting the influence line into a design. I hope you got some knowledge through this session. Happy learning. See you again.